to another edition of our Genes for Genes interviews with our wonderful ambassadors. And I'm delighted to welcome Victoria Wright, who is a disability rights campaigner and longtime supporter of Genes for Genes. So welcome, Victoria.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. As with all of these, we run through the same questions with everybody. And the point of them is really just to get to know you a bit more, just to hear some of your brilliant insights into your life, into the world, and then some more specific questions around your relationship with Genes for Genes, and how you've been working with us all this time. So our first question that we always start with, which is always quite a tricky one, how would your friends and family describe you?
Well, you know, I asked my mum, because I was given a sneak peek that this question might come about, and so I spoke to my mum on the phone yesterday, and I said, how would you describe me? And she said, oh, I would describe you as lovely.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, thanks, mum. But she is biased, obviously. So because she's my mum. But I asked my daughter, I've got an 11-year-old daughter, how she would describe me. And of course, she is not biased towards me. And like most preteens, she is very brutally honest about things. So I said, how would you describe me? And she described me in 3 words: embarrassing, all right, and sassy. Which I just roared with laughter, and I thought, well, you know, that's pretty astute observation. I'll go with that.
Not bad for an 11-year-old preteen.
Yeah, not bad.
Myself, and
yeah,
I might ask him later and just see what he comes out with. I'm liking the sassy. I think embrace the sassy.
I'm gonna go with the sassy. I just like the way she went. You know, I knew she was going to say embarrassing. She was, oh, mum, you're so embarrassing. And it just makes me laugh, because I used to think the same about my own mum. So it's complete karma. You know, I have totally turned into my mother, and now I'm the embarrassing mother. And I knew that would be the first thing she said. I just like this, and I said, what else? And she went, all right. Anything else? And she went, sassy. So I thought, yeah,
sassy.
you know,
that's a good one. I'd embrace that one. And I think if you weren't embarrassing to an 11-year-old, there would be something wrong, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Part of the job description, isn't it, if you're a mum?
It is.
Yeah,
you get more and more embarrassing. Everything's shameful, and just in the background and let them get on with it. But so second question, who do you most admire in life?
You know, I was thinking you know, about the kind of all the kind of celebrities that I admire, and the kind of the role models of people that I admire. But I think, in honesty, I think the person I most admire in life is my mum. Because, you know, she's always been there for me. She's so strong and resilient. And, you know, raising me, you know, she has 3 children, 2 of whom have disabilities. And, you know, when I think about how difficult things must have been for her as a single mother, raising a child with a very rare genetic disorder, you know, it wasn't easy at all. And you know, having talked to her over the years, I know that there were times when people would say very insensitive things, very hurtful things about me, or people would stare or, you know, nudge each other that I wasn't necessarily always aware of. And that must have been so difficult for her. And now, as a mum myself, you know, when I look back, I think, God, that must have been so hard, you know, in the 1980s to be told that you know, your daughter, because bearing in mind that with, you know, I've got a rare genetic disorder called cherubism, but I was born looking normal, shall we say, and then my face, you know, my teeth started to change, my face started to change, and to be told your daughter's got this condition and it's going to cause severe facial disfigurement, that must have been such a shock to her. But she dealt with it with such strength and resilience, but also a wonderful sense of humor. My mum's got a great sense of humor, which I've inherited from her, and which my daughter clearly has also inherited. And I just think if you've got a good sense of humor, even at the bleakest of times, then you can survive anything. So very much my mum is the person I most admire.
That's lovely. And do you think sassiness is a family trait as well?
Oh gosh, absolutely. In fact, my daughter's nickname for my mum is Sassy Grandma.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So, in fact, that she changed my mum's phone number in my mobile phone. I don't know quite how my daughter did this, but she changed the name to Sassy Grandma. So whenever my mum rings me on my mobile phone, it comes up as Sassy Grandma.
I love that. I aspire to that one day.
Got a lot of sassy women in our family.
Your sassy nanny. That's fantastic. Oh, that's lovely. And like you were saying, these things in the 1980s as well, a very different time. So it must have been a very different context to be in.
Yeah.
And your whole family.
Yeah, absolutely. And less organizations that provide support, and because my condition's so rare, that there's never been a cherubism charity because it's just so incredibly rare. So yeah, it must have been very hard. I mean, there were, I remember her saying, when I was a bit older, she told me that when I was little, she'd got my hair cut short. And a teacher at school said to her, oh, Vicky's haircut's very nice, but it does make her look like a hamster, because my cheeks were getting quite rounded then. And, she was really hurt by that. I remember other things people would say and how hurt she would be. And I remember we went to visit an elderly aunt who, I was very fond of her, but I remember her taking my mum to one side and saying, isn't Vicky's face looking awful? And I overheard that. And I remember feeling hurt. But of course, it's only now, as I've got older, I thought, being a mum myself, just think, gosh, my mum, that must have felt like a little stab in the heart. All these things people must have said, and all the staring.
And you're so protective of your children anyway, aren't you? So that really kicks in. The whole mama bear thing kicks in. And
exactly, she's a real warrior mum. But I think, we don't always recognize that in our parents, do we? We sort of, when you're a child or a teenager, you think about what you're going through. Yeah, you don't always necessarily think about how difficult it is for your parents.
Right.
Till if you're fortunate enough to become a parent yourself, or when you get older and you look back and you think, gosh, how tough it must have been. And like I said, particularly in the 80s and 90s, where I think there was less support than there is now.
Sounds like a great woman.
Yeah, she could laugh. Yeah.
Sassy Grandma. What would you say your favorite book or movie of all time is, and why did it speak to you so much?
Ooh, I'm going to be cheeky. I'm going to suggest a film and an audiobook, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So my favorite, I'm a massive film buff. I love classic movies. I love horror films as well, but I also really like sci-fi. But I think my favorite film, one that I can watch over and over again and that continues to move me, is a sci-fi film called Arrival, starring Amy Adams.
Right.
And I don't want to give spoilers. It does involve aliens. That's quite clear from the beginning of the film. But it's so much more than just an alien sci-fi film. It's got a real deeper message in there, both about communication and how important it is to communicate with others, even when you're so very different. To not judge, but to communicate and find what you have in common and work together. But also there's a really powerful message in there about the choices that we make in life. And if we look back, would we still make the same choices that we make in our life, even if it's led to painful moments? And like I said, I don't want to give spoilers. It's a wonderful, wonderful film, but one that I just find incredibly moving and meaningful, but also very uplifting as well. And similarly, I mean, I do love reading books, but I don't have quite as much time to read printed books these days. But I've started listening to audiobooks, and I got an audiobook last year called Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian, which also became a film with Matt Damon. Also sci-fi,
I was going to say there's a theme going on here.
There's a theme going on there. I do like sci-fi, but again, it's about an astronaut on a mission to save Earth, which sounds very cheesy, but actually it's incredibly gripping, very funny, but also really life-affirming. And again, I don't want to give spoilers. I highly recommend it, particularly as an audiobook, because the narrator is just brilliant. But it's the sort of story where you just get so much pleasure from it. Yeah. And it makes you, it's about people coming together for the greater good. And again, I find that just really meaningful. Yeah, so I highly recommend that as well.
I might have to look into that one. I like a good audiobook. So this one's a bit of an interesting one, considering that you're a disability rights campaigner. But if there is one cause that you would fight for, or if you could change one thing in the world, what would it be?
Oh, it's a difficult one. There are so many things I would change in the world. I just think, like lots of people, I'm very worried about climate change. Wanting to, but I think, as a disability rights campaigner, my work has always been about trying to make the world a better place for disabled people, because of growing up with a disability myself and having experienced, prejudice and discrimination, and wanting to make things better for future generations of people with disabilities and genetic conditions. I guess, that continues to be my kind of vocation in life. And I think, if I could change anything, it would be to just make things so much better for people with a disability or a genetic condition, so that we don't have to keep fighting for our rights, and we don't keep having to fight to get our needs met, or for our loved ones to get the support they need in life, because it still remains a battle. Things have improved, since the 80s and the 90s when I was growing up, but there's still a lot of stigma around having a disability or a visible difference or a genetic condition. And I think, there's still so much work to be done to make the world more accepting and accessible and inclusive for people with disabilities and genetic conditions.
Thank you. So this is moving on now to some of our more Genes for Genes related questions. And the last campaign, the campaign just gone, last September, it was themed "How do you wear yours?" And it was giving people free rein to wear whatever they wanted with their genes. So we had all sorts of wonderful contributions to this theme. So we had bunny ears and crowns and superhero capes. So you're not having to go that out there with it, but
very trendy.
What would be your perfect partner or accessory that you would wear with your genes?
Oh, well, truth be told, I am not a particularly trendy, fashionable person. I wish I was, and I admire, stylish people enormously. And you're looking very stylish today.
Oh, thank
you. Don't mind me saying so.
Buttons on underneath.
And because I mainly work from home now, I must admit, I always wear jeggings. I mean, that does count as a jean.
I think that's perfectly acceptable to fall under the category of
very comfy, elasticated waist. I've got to that age now where comfort's very, very important to me, and I am wearing fluffy zippers. But if I was going to go out, you know, the kind of perfect outfit for jeans, well, you can't go wrong with a really nice, you know, stylish, sparkly jumper, particularly in
Mm.
this weather when it's cold,
I
you
was
know,
going
but
to
a
say it's
slightly
very seasonal, very festive, isn't it? A nice
exactly.
sparkly
Well,
top.
you know, I must admit, I do always look forward to the winter, well, more of the autumn months, because then I'm like, I can wear jeans and jeggings and not feel hot, you know. I can wear my jeans, I can wear a jumper, a nice, cozy, stylish jumper. My ankle boots can come out of the wardrobe, you know, get the trench coat out. You know, it's simple, but I think it's a really classy look, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's something really comforting, isn't there, about being able to kind of wrap up and get the scarves out and
Oh, exactly.
nice.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
love that.
Love it, love it.
So how, when, and why did you get involved with Jeans for Jeans? Because you've been supporting us for quite a long time.
Yeah, I think I was invited to be an ambassador several years ago. It was so long ago now, I can't remember the year. Um, I know my daughter was a lot smaller then. Um, but yes, I was invited to be an ambassador, which was a real privilege. And you know, I had heard of Jeans for Jeans, but I, you know, did a bit of research and saw what wonderful work that you do to raise such important money for other, you know, charities and groups to be able to provide support for families with genetic conditions. And, you know, having a genetic condition myself and knowing how difficult it was for my mum when I was growing up and the kind of lack of support, it just felt like this is a charity that I really want to get involved and support, because I just know that, you know, it makes such a massive difference to people's lives. And, you know, families with children with genetic disorders and genetic conditions, you know, still have to kind of fight to get their needs met and to get the support for their child. It shouldn't have to be that way. But, you know, that's why we need charities like Jeans for Jeans to raise those vital funds to make a difference to those families' lives so that they know they're not alone. Because I think being isolated is still, you know, a big thing, you know, feeling like you're the only family going through it, that no one understands. And so to have a charity that you know raises the money but also really celebrates these families, I think that's really important, really meaningful.
I think that, yeah, and I think it's nice that you've picked up on that, because we do hope it is, you know, it's quite a fun event. You know, it's a fun event with a serious message behind it, but it does give well, it offers an opportunity for people to be able to celebrate the good things as well, and you know,
Well,
celebrate
exactly,
who everyone is.
exactly. And that's one of the things I like as well, because it's, you know, it's not just kind of saying, oh, children with a genetic disorder are a real burden and their lives are awful, you know, things like that, because that doesn't help, you know. And you know, it's about getting those families the right support for their loved ones, isn't it? And you know, if we had a magic wand, families wouldn't need to, you know, be applying for support. You know, the support would already be automatically offered and given to them. But you know, things are still difficult. Having, you know, it could be a real minefield trying to find information about your child's genetic disorder and what support is available.
Mm.
And yeah, and that's why the work that we do is so important.
Mm. And it's so nice to see that element of collaboration as well. Just everybody coming together for that week is really inspiring and really lovely to see.
Exactly. And I think it, you know, breaks down barriers as well, particularly the work that you do around schools as well.
Mm.
You know, it's about kind of recognizing that children with genetic conditions are kids. They're kids like every other kid. You know, they might need extra support in life. Maybe they might look a bit different, or, you know, behave a bit differently, you know, depending on their condition. But ultimately, they're kids and they just want to do kid stuff and have fun. So, you know, celebrate them for the gorgeous kids that they are. You know, I love that.
Well, it's a beautiful message.
Mm.
So this is our last question now.
Mhm.
And going back to your crystal ball, what would you like to see Jeans for Jeans doing in 5 years' time?
Ooh. I think just being even bigger and even better and being even more well known. You know, I think, wouldn't it be great if every school knows about Jeans for Jeans Day, and, you know, all the companies, you know, particularly the really big, rich companies, all know about Jeans for Jeans and the work that we do. And so every year they get involved. So I think, you know, in 5 years' time, we want everyone to have heard and to be really excited about getting involved in Jeans for Jeans.
So we just want to take over the world,
Right.
Victoria.
Take over the world.
This one and other
Absolutely.
worlds. We can go back to our sci-fi link.
Exactly. And other worlds, exactly. Other planets. I'd be
We've got
very
some genes for
happy,
genes on other
you know, was
planets.
it Jeff Bezos or something, whatever, you want to send me to Mars? I'll be an ambassador for Mars.
I'll check my budget
Yeah.
and get back to you on that one.
But yeah, get the word out. And like you say, you know, just raise that awareness, so that people become more familiar, and, you know, and get involved in fundraising activities, and so that, you know, families with children with genetic conditions know about the work that you do as well. And I just think, yeah, spread the word, and so we'll be, you know, bigger, better, and brighter in 5 years' time. Wouldn't that be great?
That's a brilliant ambition. And thank you, because it is, you know, down to people like you as well that are supporting us, and acting as our, you know, on our behalf as ambassadors in the world. Then, you know, hopefully this is how we take the message out even further. So thank you so much for all of your support.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you.